Yo, what's up guys? In today's video I'm going to be doing a tier list of all the guns in Project Zomboid after build 42. Because of all the changes with aiming, reloading and stuff like that. I'm going to be testing them all, ranking them in a tier list, so make sure to watch the rest of the video to see the result. Starting off with the JS2000, which is one of two shotguns in Project Zomboid. The JS as well as the double barrel have seen a significantly major change in build 42, where you can't hit more than one zombie at a time anymore, which was one of the main pros of this weapon. However, it is still a very good weapon and is still the best for low level aiming, as it is a very accurate at close range. The range has also been increased in build 42, which is useful because it means you don't have to be as close with zombies if your aiming skill is slightly higher. The ammo is also very common, which is nice, and it doesn't need a magazine to operate. The JS can hold 6 shells plus 1, which means, 7 shots at a time. That's pretty good. It takes around a second to reload each bullet, with no reloading level or any attachments, which I think is pretty fair. There aren't any major cons to the JS2000, but the main ones I can think of is that it's the loudest firearm in the game, with a noise radius of 200, and now that in build 42 you can't hit more than one zombie. But other than that, there's nothing really wrong with the shotgun, and I still think it's one of the best weapons in the game, which is why I'm going to put it in S tier. Alright, so the next shotgun we got is the double barrel, and in my opinion, I just think this shotgun is a worse version of the JS2000, because the JS can do everything the double barrel can, but better. The double barrel can only shoot 2 shots at a time, and then has to reload after that, which takes around 3 seconds, rather than the JS, that can just shoot 6 shots at a time, and then just reload quicker. With all that said, I still want to put the double barrel shotgun in A tier, because I think it is still a good weapon, but the JS2000 just outshines it in every way. But it's still a good weapon that you should take if you find it. Now I'm going to be moving on to the rifles. First up is the M14. The M14 has a magazine size of 20 and takes around 13 seconds to reload a full magazine with 0 reloading skill. The pros to this gun is that it's semi-automatic. You can shoot multiple bullets at a time before having to reload. The range of this weapon is also very good, which can also be increased with attachments like iron sights and scopes. With the new build 42 aiming system, it actually makes aiming a lot better with rifles, so you don't need a really high aiming level anymore. Now I'd say you can have anywhere between level 2 and 3 aiming level and still do pretty good with the M14. However, the cons of this weapon is that the reload takes a really long time, but one way to counter this is to carry multiple magazines and just switch between them rather than reloading every single time. And another little downside, which isn't that major, is that the bullets don't pierce, which isn't that much of a big deal because of the amount of damage output this gun has. So I think the M14 is going to be a solid A tier weapon, because with high enough aiming it can do so much damage, and with attachments it can be even better, so I think it deserves A. The M16 can switch between semi-automatic and fully automatic, depending on what you prefer or the situation you're in, which is really useful. The magazine size for the M16 is a whopping 30, which is insane, but it means it can mow down massive hordes of zombies in seconds. The rounds also penetrate zombies, which is amazing, meaning you can do lots of extra damage with only one bullet at a time. However, the cons of this weapon is that it's extremely rare to find. It's the most commonly found in military areas, and you'll need a relatively high aiming level. The reloading obviously takes ages to reload, so just make sure you carry a couple of magazines with you. If you got a high enough aiming level with the M16 and managed to find one of them with good condition, this is easily the best weapon in the game. It can destroy hordes in just a few seconds. So that's why I'm going to put the M16 rifle right in S tier above the JS2000, because this thing is just OP in the right hands. The M9 has a magazine size of 15, which is really good, making it have the highest magazine size of any other pistol. It takes around 10 seconds to fully reload the weapon, without any attachments or skills, which I think isn't too bad. The M9 is probably one of the most common pistols to find all across the game, as well as 9mm ammo, which is super common, making this weapon my personal favourite pistol of any of the others. The only con I can think of is that it's the third loudest sidearm at 100 tiles, not 1000. That's the only really thing I can say that isn't good about this weapon. So if we're talking sidearms here, I definitely think the M9 is the best in my opinion, at least when it comes to the pistols. Maybe not the revolvers. We're going to talk about that later. So yeah, I think the M9 pistol is my favorite because of the high magazine size, the good damage, and that's just the main reasons why I think it's an S tier weapon. Now I'm going to be talking about the M36 Revolver, which I think is one of the most interesting guns. Let me tell you why. The reason I like this gun so much is because it's the quietest gun in the whole game, and it's also the lightest revolver. The noise radius is only 60 tiles, and the M36 weighs a measly 1.5. Because it's a revolver, obviously means it can't jam, which is a really nice pro. However, there are a few cons. These being that it only has 5 shots at a time and takes around 6 seconds at a time to reload. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, but sometimes can be annoying. Because it's the quietest and lightest gun in the game, it probably doesn't come to a surprise that it does also the least amount of damage out of any other gun in the game. Which is probably the main thing that isn't that good about this gun. But I think this revolver deserves a solid high A tier as one of the better sidearms in the game. Next up we have the Magnum, which is another revolver that you can get, but honestly the gun kinda sucks. Sure, it's got one of the highest amounts of damage for a sidearm and range, but the reload is super slow at like 7 seconds. As well as this, it's the heaviest sidearm at 2 encumbrance, and it also has the loudest noise radius at 120, which is just crazy. And then on top of this, it's like nearly impossible to hit any shots. The accuracy is so low for this gun. So honestly, you're better off just not using this gun. The only thing I think that is cool about this is like, it looks cool, I guess. That's about it. Yeah, so I'm gonna unfortunately have to give this weapon a humble D tier in my tier list here. Moving on to the final revolver, we have the M625 revolver, which is a nice middle ground where you can't really go wrong with it. It's got the pro of not being able to jam, it does a pretty good amount of damage, and it's got a mediocre noise radius of 80 tiles, so you can't really complain with that. The M625 has 6 bullets, which is pretty good, meaning you won't run out of bullets too quickly. So overall, it's a nice basic sidearm. I don't really have any complaints. I think it deserves a comfortable B tier. Nothing much more I can say about it. It's a cool revolver. The next sidearm we got is the DE pistol, aka the Deagle, which is the swaggiest and coolest sidearm out of them all. It's tied with the Magnum for the highest damage out of any handgun, but unfortunately it's also really loud with a noise radius of 120. The magazine can fire 8 bullets before needing to reload, which is pretty substantial. And the reason it's so much better than the Magnum is because of the attachments you can put on to increase your accuracy. The gun and ammo is quite rare to find for some reason, and you should have at least level 2 in aiming when using this weapon if you want to use it properly, because the accuracy for it is quite low. It takes like 8 seconds to fully reload the gun, which is also a bit of a problem, but it shouldn't be too bad if you got multiple magazines. B tier. Alright, so the final pistol we got is the M1911. This is a pretty basic sidearm, similar to the M9, but it has a 7 bullet magazine size instead of 15. The noise radius is 70 tiles, which is very quiet. I think it's the second most quiet, which is good, and the accuracy is also very good for this weapon, making it good if you've got low level aiming, and if you're trying to stay quiet, instead of having a revolver. Because it's a pistol, it means you can put attachments on it to make it even better, so you got lasers, iron sights, scopes, stuff like that you can put on it to increase the accuracy and other stats like that, which is one of the pluses of using a pistol instead of a revolver. So I think the M9 is a pretty good weapon. You know, it's quiet, decent magazine size, very accurate. I think it deserves a comfortable A tier. Okay, so next up we got the hunting rifles, and these things are absolutely horrible. Like honestly, Jesus, these things are terrible. Both of them only have 3 magazine sizes. The accuracy is horrible. Trust me, never use this weapon. The accuracy is horrible. The range doesn't do anything. You're never gonna hit a shot. It's slow, it's horrible, it's ugly, it's fat, it's useless. Worst weapon in the game. D tier, no questions asked. Alright, so there you have it. That is the final tier list. I think I'm actually gonna move the Magnum up to C. You know, it's got that swag. Low-key will be looking like Rick Grimes. This is it. What do you guys think about it? I hate these guns. You know, there's nothing you can do to change my mind about them. You know, you can maybe change some things here and there, but I think I'm pretty happy with it. What do you guys think? Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and see ya.